The inning of the season thus far. The inning, the ninth in last night's game, was stunning for many, many reasons. We're going to dig into all of that, plus some of the news from the Marlins, Jazz to the IL, and Gary Dembo is gone. Dan the Man Healy is joining me, one of the OG UK GOATs from Fish Across the Pond, now focusing more on basketball and the NBA and the Heat, but nevertheless, he's still got his eye on the Marlins. So we'll dig into all of the Marlins news today on Locked On Marlins.
You are Locked On Marlins, your daily podcast on the Miami Marlins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Greetings from England and welcome to Locked On Marlins, your daily Marlins podcast with me, Peter Pratt. And of course, guys, follow me on Twitter at MiamiMarlins_UK. Don't forget the underscore. No TikToks, no Instas for me. I'm too old. And don't forget to subscribe to the pod or the YouTube channel if you're watching. Hello. And if you are watching, you'll realize I have a guest. And if you are a long-term fan of the old school show that I hosted, Fish Across the Pond, one of the OGs is joining me today, Dan. And as you can see, Dan the Man Healy is in the mix. Dan, how are we doing, brother?
I am very well, Pete. And what a proud moment it is to be, I was there, as you just alluded to there, back in the day. What are we talking, 3 years ago now? Just a DM floated in. Hey, man, I see you tweet a lot about the Marlins. Do you want to chat some Marlins baseball? We can do it whenever you're ready. And we did that grainy, terrible audio, just like a bit of a shambles, really. But we had fun. And that became, of course, Fish Across the Pond, which was a big part of 2 years of my life doing that with you. It was great fun with the other UK guys as well. And yet here you are, man. I'm proud. Look at you on the biggest sports streaming network in the world with Locked On. So congratulations. Let's start off there.
Oh, thank you, brother. And I must say, now you've got me reminiscent of that episode 1, Fish Across the Pond. For some people tuning in going, what is Fish Across the Pond? Maybe new listeners. Go and check it out. Find it. Fish Across the Pond. Episode 1 was a stunner. Absolutely stunning. The was poor, but the banter was high, and we had a lot of fun, mate. And we did a weekly pod there. The 4 of us rolling around weekly pod, all in the UK covering the Marlins. So it was a unique and fun time, no doubt. And we've all kind of gone away and done our own thing since. So it's great to come back. And you as well, my man. Listen, the jealousy levels, it was an 80-grade jealousy from my perspective. You were out there cruising in Miami, down in South Florida, living your best life. The way this lockout played out, you didn't get you were going to be going to see the opening weekend, one of the games at least, against the Bravos, and they obviously pushed it back. So it wasn't to be. However, you did get down to Lone Depot. Plus, you were on the court. You were on the court with the Heat. They were absolutely giving you the love, mate. Just try and describe that experience for us if you can.
Yeah, it was a trip that was obviously I run the Miami Heat UK, but my NBA basketball has become a big part of my life day to day. It's content all the time, and I'm proud of what we're doing over there, and we're growing a bit of a community, which is fantastic. But I still love my Marlins, and I still want to go and see one day a opening game at Lone Depot Park. And I had this planned all ready to go 2.5 years ago now, just before the pandemic hit. 10 days before the pandemic, of course, everything ground to a halt, tickets refunded, flights cancelled, would not happen. Then suddenly I thought, okay, things are now settling down again. We can get out there. Flights booked. As you said, first 2 games against the Braves were tickets purchased. That trip was centered around that trip. Despite me being a big, massive Miami Heat fan, I was working this trip around Marlins opening day, and then the lockout. So it didn't happen. Boy. It just wasn't meant to be. But as you just sort of said there, yeah, an incredible experience. The Miami Heat organization are a class above. They are taking me in like family, despite being in the other side of the world, the other side of the globe. For what they've done, they've looked after me. They've brought me down on court. They customized the jersey for me. They got me to sort of watch some players warming up right in front of my eyes. My heroes, to be standing just a few feet away from them. Got to meet some very special people as well, some commentators, some coaches, etc. Guys that I've been lucky enough to talk to on my own podcast as well. To actually finally meet them was great. And then, yeah, got to see 3 Heat games. Not the best record. We ended up squeezing in 1 win right at the end, so we went 1 and 2.
Yeah.
But it was an amazing trip to Miami. And of course, as you said, yeah, got to see Lone Depot Park, even though there was no game play on the field that day. I managed to get round and do the tour. Which, if you're in Miami, if you're a local person, the tickets were like $11, something like that. It was like ridiculous money, and it was
Mm.
about a 2-hour tour. I loved every minute of it. You get to go into some pretty special places, including down onto the pitch, into the dugouts, etc. That stadium, that arena, is a monster,
Yeah.
absolute monster. So the whole tour got to stand in the alley, which is something I always wanted to do.
Yeah, mate. We've
One
talked
day,
about it for years, right? You know,
we have talked about it for years. One day I'll be there with you, Pete, in the
100%.
alley, alternation alley, sharing a beer. One day that will happen. I hope so. But yeah,
I
an
think so.
incredible experience, even though I didn't get to see any baseball.
Love it. My favorite moment, though, of all of those, and there was tons of content you're putting out, images, pictures of your trip, and listen, notifications were on that week for you, mate, and I was torturing myself in some ways, but love seeing you just living it up. And there was oh my days, there was this image. You were basically recreating Starling Marte, the Starling Marte cigar moment. It's my favorite picture of the whole trip. You were just there smoking these massive fat cigars. I was like, whoa, Dan Healy has landed.
It was day one, my first full day, and I thought, right,
Mm,
first thing I got to do is go and see Little Havana, obviously massive
mm,
Cuban heritage in Miami, big part of the Marlins heritage as well. So I wanted to go down to Little Havana, and obviously walked up and down there. Great experience again. Obviously, if you're a tourist, please go and spend a couple of hours there because you won't regret it. And of course, the cigars are a massive thing.
mhm.
Dominoes, cigars, if you're there, you've got to do that sort of thing. So I walked into a place. I'm not a cigar smoker at all. I walked into a place and I said, I've got these parsnips of cigars, and then obviously all the little ones as well. And I went to this woman and I said, I need to get a photo of me drinking a mojito with a big fat cigar. And she said, okay, do you want a big parsnip one for the gram? Or do you just want a little one to enjoy and smoke? I went, I want a big parsnip for the photo. I'm going to smoke 2 lugs of this. I'm going to have 1 photo and I'm just going to put it out. And it cost me about $12, I think, for this huge cigar. But
Yeah,
yeah, as you said, very Starling Marte vibes. Yeah,
really
great
was.
time down there. Brilliant.
It was stunning, mate. Really was. It was, what a trip it was. And, it's a good time for us to look back. I think it's, we were podding, we got together. I think it was 4 years ago, mate, actually, which is
Wow.
crazy. I think back then, Jose Urena was the ace. Then Caleb Smith emerged, and you were a massive Caleb Smith man. Look how far. I know it's been a bit of a disappointing year for the Marlins this year, thus far, in that there's 6 games under 500. It's disappointing because the expectation levels are higher now than they were then. But when you kind of take a step back and you think when we were covering the team weekly, talking about the Marlins in a full-blown rebuild, this organization has come a long, long way now. The amount of talent knocking around is just sensational. The main man, Sandy Alcantara, I mean, going yesterday, complete game as well for Sandy. I mean, he's just got the dog in him, right? I mean, he's just a straight up stud, and great to see. But it's crazy to think how far they have come in 4 seasons. They really have.
Yeah, well, when you look back at that rotation, I love that rotation with Dr. K and
Mhm.
Urania, and
Yeah,
yeah, Sandy was sort of the 3rd or 4th man down the line at that point with
yeah.
Pablo as well being there, and I can't remember who else it
Probably
was.
had Trevor Richards or something at that
Trevor
time.
Richards,
Yeah.
yes, that's it. Well, and yeah, so the rotation was good. It was a fun rotation for a team that is clearly in the rebuild.
Mm,
But the pitching was always there. That was something we always spoke about. But
mm,
to see Sandy come through, not only we always called him an ace, we said that he had the raw talent to be a big player, but to see him now, as you say, 3-4 years down the line, and let's not pick any bones about this, he's the best pitcher in baseball now, and that's not homerism.
it isn't.
That's facts. He is. I mean, Miami is a small market team, but is a guy that will get bums in seats. You will get eyes watching this team, and he's a joy to watch. He's the sort of guy for people like us. Even if you're a relatively casual fan over in the UK, if Sandy's on the mound, you want to
Mm.
tune in. Doesn't matter whether it's a midnight star, whatever it may be. And that's something big. And again, last night just showed what an asset he is, and he got us that win.
Completely with you, mate. And you're going back to last night, a 1:45 a.m. start, which it's a late start because they're on that kind of central time in St. Louis. there. So later than usual, Sandy was, I'm having this. I'm staying up. I want to see at least a couple of innings. To be honest with you, after a few innings, I was watching it. I thought, there's a chance he's got a complete game in him here now. I saw the Cardinals were really aggressive early, and I thought, Sandy, when the hitters are trying to be aggressive, it gets contact, but it's usually ground ball central. And Sandy, I mean, it didn't disappoint. It was a stunning game. I actually want to talk about this ninth inning as well, because it was, for me, it could be a true season-defining moment for these Marlins. It really could, as they head into July with what looks to be on paper, and this is a dangerous statement, we've said it many times, but a soft-looking schedule. Like, if the Marlins are going to make some noise, this is the opportunity. But before we do that, guys, it's the first US ad with a British twist, and it is our guys over at LinkedIn. LinkedIn solutions. So as the sun comes out and small businesses are back in business, LinkedIn Jobs makes it easier to grow your team. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the people you want to interview faster and maybe more importantly, for free. So what have you got to do? Create a job post in minutes on LinkedIn Jobs to reach your network and beyond to the world's largest professional network of over 810 million people. 810 million people. Crazy. Then add your job and the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring, so your network can help you find the right people to hire. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on the candidates with just the right skills and experience, so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. So what have you got to do? LinkedIn Jobs to help you find the candidates you want to talk to faster. And did you know every week, nearly 40 million, that's 40 million job seekers visit LinkedIn. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonmlb. That's linkedin.com/lockedonmlb to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. All right, Dan the man. The ninth inning, I mean, it looked like another vintage Marlins and Sandy performance in St. Louis. No run support galore. The fielding was a little bit botchy. It wasn't good. They didn't fully back up their ace. But 2 outs, Avisail Garcia with his biggest knock as a Marlin, and it was drilled to center field. It was a stunner because as you're listening on the broadcast, there's a raucous sound. They know the game is there for them to take and the win, and their closer has been lights out too all year. And Avisail Garcia took the volume right out of Busch Stadium, drilled to center field, 2-run blast for Avisail Garcia. I know you haven't been really as plugged into the Marlins as you maybe have been in the past. Nevertheless, you can't miss the fact that Avisail Garcia has not had a good year thus far. Big moment for Avisail.
Yeah, a huge moment, and just one of them that, as I say, it's such a rarity, isn't it? When you've got the crowd on their feet clapping, knowing that really 1 out and it's job done, and the Marlins go home swept out of off the field. To drill that, that's as you just alluded to, it's a big sort of possibly season defining moment, because if you finished the month swept, that's for a player as well that's, as you said, struggled to come back and hit that, what was in the end like a game winning 2 runs to get that lead. It could change everything. It changes confidence. It gives everybody a high. And as you said, now with a soft schedule coming up, I mean, when you look at when we've played teams previously, I think we're 8-1 against some of the lesser teams recently in Washington, etc. We've breezed through some of those lower teams, and now with the teams coming up, they, as you said, from one swing of a bat and then a brilliant closeout, as we know from Sandy, which I'm sure we'll come into in a minute. It's possibly season defining, Pete.
Really is. I felt that. It felt season defining, not just for the Marlins, but Avisail Garcia too. He's rounding the bases. He's come around to third. He's pumping his chest. What he said, I don't think I can say live on this show, but anyway, you get the point. He was pumped. He was pumped, no doubt about it. And rightly so. It's been a struggle for him. And it was great to see him deliver that big knock in a big spot, get completely pumped about it. Sandy then goes out, does the job. I'll talk about that in a sec. But post-game, Avi Garcia, he's there with the media. We've not heard from Avi all year, basically. So to see him, this is what he needs, the little momentum boost, the confidence, because the Marlins need him. He was signed to basically be hitting in quite a contact-heavy, top of the lineup. So he's there looking to hit salami after salami, and thus far, it hasn't been that case. So big moment. But listen, the game came down to it. 1-run lead. I mean, as soon as that home run went, Sandy started clapping, but then he suddenly realized, he was like, oh, okay, I'm going back out. Okay, so he started pacing around. Sandy's out there, and he gets the first out. Then I think there's a walk and a single, so it's 2 on, 1 out, and Sandy's up like, I don't know, 110, 115 pitches, which, in modern day baseball, it's a high count. Donnie strolls out, and I think we all felt that was the kind of, Grim Reaper moment there where that's it for Sandy, bring in the pen. And the faces on Miguel Rojas and Brian Anderson were like, oh boy, this is not good. And Sandy in his glove, and he was speaking his mind, I think is how I describe it. I think effectively he just said, I've got it. And Donnie just went, okay, good for you. Let's roll. I mean, there's been some heat on Don Mattingly too this year as well, naturally, because they've underperformed. But big moment for Sandy, but also big moment for Donnie. I love the fact he left him in there and the decision ended up working out. So big for Don as well, right?
Yeah, 100%. And we've had it before, haven't we, with Sandy, where he's pulled him and he said, I was good to carry on, and we've ended up losing games because of that. And Sandy's always one to say, I'll have a complete game every game. Don't worry about me. I'm good to go. And I know you've got to protect your ace, of course you have, and you've got to try and manage that. But Donnie walked out there, and there was you was going to have to drag him off. You was going to have to drag Sandy off because he was not. You could tell it was, as you just said, I'm good. I think he was on it. Don Mattingly was out there for about 8 seconds, Pete. Turned around, sent back on his way. And then what a way to back it up, though, to deliver, to be able to listen to your ace, listen to your stud who's saying, I'm good to go. Leave me in. Turn around. That's all he needed to hear. Turn around, and he delivered. Hats off to Sandy, hats off to Don Mattingly, because that's as you said, that's listening to your players and trusting them.
I wonder if he pulled the technique. I wonder if Donnie used that technique of the legendary Who Wants to Be a Millionaire clip that's around, where he knows the answer, the guy, for the million, and he rings his dad as the phone a friend. He rings his dad and he said, hey, you've got 30 seconds to give him the question. And he says, Dad, I'm just ringing to let you know I'm going to be a millionaire. I know the answer. I just wanted to tell you. And I'm wondering if Donnie's walked out there and just said, you're rolling this double play today, stud. It's all on you. And so it looks like it may have been a situation, but maybe Donnie was just actually walking out there to say, Sandy, this is on you too. And he knew he was going to do it. And then the double play straight into Miggy Rowe, scripted Sandy. And Paul Severino, I have not heard him as pumped on the broadcast for a long, long time, maybe since the Marlins clinched in Yankee Stadium in the COVID year in 2020. But for Sev to be as hyped as that at the end of June, for me, said a lot too. I think it just meant so much this game. It really was. And great to see. But, Sandy, he's come on so much. No doubt about it. The question I got for you, though, as well, could he do some bits in the NBA? I mean, he's got the frame. I mean...
I tell you, I think he probably could. I mean, I'm not sure whether he'll get on the Heat at the moment because they're rolling. But I think you're right. He could probably do a job, but in multiple sports, he's got the arm, hasn't he? He's got the length, he's got the athleticism. Yeah, absolutely, no doubt about that. But I think that you're right about saying with Sev there. I think it's probably the highlight of the season so far. Yeah. And as you said, there's such a difference between ending the month being swept, really then looking at the record and just thinking, look. The very, very sort of outside chances you may have of scraping a wild card probably diminish there. Everything goes down. So to turn it around in the fashion that it did with Avi getting the runs, then being backed up by your ace coming out, turning the manager back around and sending him back to the bench, then delivering with the double play as we now enter a fresh month with a soft schedule. There's some new optimism. I mean, look, it's still stacked against us. The chances are it probably still won't happen. It could fade into nothing. Baseball changes very quickly. But everybody must now be feeling good about what's just come in. And that's something that maybe we haven't said enough about this team. We're in the third, fourth year of the rebuild. There's still a long way to go. Maybe there's some money still to be spent. I think we're something like 26th out of 30 in terms of money spent in the league. But that was a big moment. It feels like a big moment last night.
Agreed. Completely with you. There's a couple of big moments coming now as well with some US ads with a British twist as well. So let's wrap these up. There's a double header here, guys. So 2 ads back to back. And this is my favorite one too at the moment. It's the Sports Card Investor app. So Dan, I can't remember. Are you a sports card collector?
I'm not. No.
Not yet, anyway. But anyway,
not yet, anyway.
Sports Card Investor app's where you need to get to, brother. Welcome to the world of sports cards reimagined. Sports Card Investor app is the hobby's most powerful resource Quickly check the value of your favorite cards, find great deals, and profit from the hobby you love. Available completely for free in the Google. And the Sports Card Investor app is a must-have for baseball fans and perhaps basketball fans too. So if it was me, I'd be absolutely plowing into Sandy Alcantara cards right now, no doubt about it. If you were looking at it from a Heat perspective, who's the guy to look out from a Heat if you're going to be investing in a card? Who's an up-and-coming stud that we don't know about?
As an up-and-coming, I think you've got to look at people like, Tyler Herro is our sort of guy who's probably going to get maxed pretty soon or close to a max contract. Sixth man of the year. He'll probably be looking for a starting berth next year. Is no sort of unearthed gem, but he's well known around the league now. But he's rising. He's making a leap in every single season. So look out for him. Hopefully starting games next year and his value continue to rise.
No doubt about it. He looks a very exuberant character from what I can see on Twitter anyway. So
yeah, he's got. He's a guy that's now I think 22 years old, but he came in with all the swagger, with all the look as a young kid, at 19 when we drafted him, living in Miami, earning good money, Instagram girlfriend. He's got the life, man. But he's a really cool dude. Really cool dude.
No doubt about it. I'm gonna put a pin in that for a segment and come back to it, but. For the Sports Card Investor app, what have you got to do? You've got to download it. You've got to download the app today. It's available for free in the Google Play and Apple App Stores. Or if you're not going to get the app, go to sportscardinvestor.com/locked-on. Okay, final one then, guys, and it's our good friends over at BetOnline. Of course, betonline.net. It's your number one source for all your betting needs and sports info. Find all the latest sports developments, league reviews and news, including this year's NHL playoffs and Major League Baseball. And of course, it's your continued wagering information, including live betting, esports, and scores. And there's another and. It remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, big claim, and news this season. So they've hold on a minute. They've even got more. They've even got the fastest and easiest way to check out all your sports, including MMA, boxing, and absolutely cover everything. Head to the website today. Use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. Bet online where the game starts. Oh boy, Dan, you just got me thinking about Jazz Chisholm. You talking about swag and exuberance, and boy, oh boy, Jazz, right? It sounds like there's a bit of a kind of mirror image there into the Heat and the Marlins there with these two studs. And but bad news for the Fish, obviously. Jazz landing on the IL as well, which came yesterday pre-game. Was not a shocker because he's dealt with his back issue for a couple of days, but nevertheless, Jazz, he plays the game like he's loving it, and he looks like he's loving it. He is just a Marlins, and I think a Major League Baseball fan favorite right now, which is great to see. No doubt about it. What about you?
Yeah, I totally agree. And, I was thinking about this sort of earlier on in the season when he was really lighting things up. And I thought, again, for a team like Miami, who's, not well supported in terms of attendance, again, right down near the bottom, trying to make their mark, trying to continue this rebuild. Players like Jazz Chisholm is exactly what we need. A real character, swag, plays the game with a smile. But most importantly, is damn talented. Let's not forget that. He's got a lot of talent. He's got a lot in his locker. And that's the most important thing. You can be a colourful character. You can have the blue hair and the all the look and everything else. And we love that as fans. A bit like, as I said, Tyler Herro is for the Miami Heat. So there's a real sort of culture fit there for both of them players. But both players, especially Jazz Chisholm, as I said, extremely talented, young, and are only going to keep progressing. So yeah, a real shame to see him go down. Hopefully not for too long. As he said, I think in an interview after the last game, he's not the sort of player that will ever want to sit out any games. So for him to have to do that really hurts him. But I think obviously the right thing to do, if someone who really wants to do nothing but play baseball has to then come and sit out, it's probably going to be something that's needed and genuine. So hopefully he gets his rest and gets back soon, because as we push forward, trying to get this wild card, man, we can't have him sitting there for too long. So hopefully he rests up and gets out soon.
No way. I think he's going to miss maybe the next 3 series. I think the Nats is on deck here anyway. So, 3 series, but without. But however, you've got Joey Wendell looking like he's on his way back too. So, one taketh away, but, one giveth, I guess, on that one. So, and just a side note as well on Tyler Herro. Is that how you pronounce it?
It is indeed. Well done.
There you go. What's the with all the exuberance and swag that he brings, what's the how's he kind of looked at in terms of the clubhouse is probably the wrong description, but you know what I'm saying? Like within the team, is there any problems there with this exuberance, or it's all good?
No problems at all. I think that a lot of people from outside of the team and the organisation look at him as, as I said, someone who's got all like the flashy isn't the word, because flashy can come across as cocky, and he never comes across as cocky. But obviously, he's got the drip, as we call it, and the shades, and as I said, lives the lifestyle and has the Instagram girlfriend and all the rest of it. And he's got a lot of money for somebody who's still so young. That's not his fault. He's very good at what he does. But every year he has come on, he has leapt. You see him at hanging out with Jack Harlow and going to concerts and things, and people seem to feel like he's not allowed to do that. Well, off of the court, as long as you bring it to your team every single day, you can do what you want. Doesn't matter what you are. And the Miami Heat organization will never have anything less than 100% commitment, because they always have this ethos of this culture of being the hardest working, most best conditioned, all the rest of it team in the organization. So from everybody that supports the club or supports the team, there'll be no problems with this guy. They only see him continuing to get better, and the man's about to get paid very, very well after he comes off of his rookie extension. You don't get that by just sitting on the side being cocky and swaggy and not putting the work in. And he deserves it.
I'm with you. Just speaking about team or work ethos, as you kind of allude to it with the Heat. Interesting news yesterday as well, pre-game that came out. Not a shocker in the grand scheme, obviously, with Derek Jeter moving on, but Gary Demb was fired by the Marlins yesterday. Gary Demb was effectively Jeter's right-hand man, and the first piece that he added into the front office when he joined the Marlins. The official role, VP of Scouting and Player Development. I guess when we kind of strip that away, and I don't know Gary Demb, I've never spoke to him. He's never been on a Zoom call that I've been on, so I can't speak from experience. But it felt like this was probably coming with obviously Jeter going. And when we strip it away, the development side, I think, with the Fish, particularly on the hitting side, has not been as good. From a pitching perspective, I mean, it's been fantastic. We've really developed some really nice pitchers in the system at the higher levels, I would say. But the hitting development has not really been good. It hasn't been there. A lot of these guys have flamed. A lot of these big guys are obviously acquired as part of trades in the early rebuild, plus the draftees now. It's been a little bit underwhelming. So I'm not shocked that he was moved. But we'll wait and see. I have a feeling that Craig Mish will go into some detail in that on Swings and Mishes real soon. I think that may be dropping today. Craig will be really plugged into that. But, interesting that the Marlins are shaking up the fronts again, continue to do that. Kim even more and more power there in the Marlins front office as GM. Good news. We'll see. And I guess, with Kim, we've got to trust her. We got to trust her. And this stretch in July, mate, when we kind of strip it away now, 28 games pre-deadline, if they go on a run, they can be above 500 before the deadline and could be buying at the deadline, which would be wild, right?
Yeah, that's it. And, I sort of echo what you say. I don't know too much about him, Demb. I think that, but what I do notice, and what's something we've always spoke about for the years that I've followed this team, is the pitching's always been there at a high level, but all through this rebuild, the batting, the hits, the bats just haven't been. No. And when you see, players like, for example, Starling Marte, he left the Marlins, he's now gone to another team, he's hitting better, his rate is better, his average is better, the runs are there, the hits are there. There's always that trend. It just never seems like we've ever really addressed that properly. And I suppose that when Jeter ended his reign, maybe that was the inevitable thing that was going to be addressed, and it has done. So, as you say, there's still a lot of baseball to be played yet.
There is.
This is an important month. We're always optimistic this side, as you know. We'll see what we can do. But yeah, don't rule us out. We'll see what happens.
No way. I'm all the way back in. There were some dark days in May, no doubt about it. And basically in July, we need to have a reverse splits from May. So we need to do the complete opposite and win some games. To your point, though, the interesting guy I'm thinking about this season is Jorge Alfaro. Was years with the Marlins.
100%.
Always looked like he had the tools. Next thing is he's over to the Padres, and now he's lighting up with the Padres. It's one of those you're thinking, what's changed?
Yep.
Why all of a sudden has Jorge Alfaro become an above-average hitter from a catching position anyway? And all of a sudden, Jacob Stallings looked like the worst hitter there's ever been behind the dish, although we did get a decent knock yesterday to keep it rolling. But nevertheless, it's an interesting one. The fact that what you've said there is completely spot on, where the hitting side, throughout the rebuild, it's underwhelmed. There's no
Yeah.
getting away from that. And it's time for a change, I think. And the change has been made. We'll wait and see what the fallout is. It's not my specialism. It isn't yours. We'll leave it to Craig Mish. It'll be his specialism. He'll get into it. So
100%. Yeah.
I think we're going to absolutely tear it up in July. I've already put out, I think we go 18-10. That will take us to, wow, we'll be 2 games over 500. 2 games over 500 at the end of July, which would be wild. I also think that would put the Marlins in a buying position. I think it's really a 4-headed race for this wild card. The Cardinals or Brewers, depending on who doesn't win the division, the Giants, the Phillies, and the Marlins, all battling for one spot. So I think the Marlins can push the chips in, no doubt about it. Dan, we are right on time, 30 minutes. I can't believe it. It's because you weren't drinking rosé wine. That's the reason, I think, on this one. I know there's a lot going on for you today, mate, with NBA free agency rolling. So I know you'll be, for those that aren't watching, and some won't be, remind everyone where they can get you on Twitter, brother, if they don't have the graphics to use.
Yeah, thanks for so much for having me on. Absolute pleasure to join you on Locked On Marlins. It was great fun, as always, it is talking to you. But if anyone is an NBA fan as well, a Miami Heat fan as well, which we're hoping you may be if you're a Marlins fan, then follow me at the Miami Heat UK. As I said, we try and cover a lot of our stuff over there. We're there all through the season. The off-season has started now, but it's a big night tonight with free agency. There'll be content coming throughout the summer, even though it's eased off slightly over our, obviously, as our in-season content rolls on. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is Miami Heat UK TV, and subscribe to our podcast, which is Heating Up the UK, available on all podcast platforms. But yeah, come and join us. Come and follow us over there, because we do our bit.
Absolutely, no doubt about it. Absolute content monster, Dan Healy. He is absolutely fantastic. And the UK basketball scene is sensational as well. The UK baseball scene is a lot of fun as well. But, it's great to see these UK fan bases of these US sports really growing, really getting the momentum going. So it's great to see, no doubt. So, guys, that is us done and out of here for Locked On Marlins on Thursday. We'll be back tomorrow, Friday, and it's July. We turn the page on June into July, and the Marlins have a series queued up with the Nats. So I'll be back tomorrow, of course. If you haven't got the memo, it's a daily pod, so I'll be back on Friday. And Josh Neighbors will be joining the show. We'll be doing a crossover, host of Locked On Nationals. So be joining up, digging into the Nats, digging into the Marlins. But first listen of the day. Now, make your second listen, Locked On MLB Prospects. Host Lindsey Crosby is a prospect encyclopedia, and he's going deep on the MLB stars of tomorrow. It's free and available wherever you get your pods. That is us done. Dan Healy, Peter Pratt, out of here for Locked On Marlins, Thursday episode. Back tomorrow, guys.